All right, Chinese mythology. I know you're probably thinking Sun Wukong, the Monkey King.
Of course.
And maybe those majestic dragons.
Yeah.
There's a whole universe of stories just waiting to be discovered.
The whole universe. So get ready to explore those creation myths, encounter some seriously quirky deities.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's really fascinating, especially if you're just starting to peek into Chinese mythology, is how different these narratives are from the Western stories that I'm sure a lot of us grew up with.
How does it all begin in Chinese mythology?
Instead of that kind of Big Bang theory, you got to imagine a giant cosmic egg.
And inside, a sleeping giant named Pangu. So for 18,000 years, Pangu is sleeping and growing inside this egg. He finally wakes up and he stretches, and that's what does it. He cracks the egg open, separating it into the heavens and the earth.
Whoa, talk about a dramatic wake-up call. So Pangu literally sculpted the universe with his own body.
Exactly. His breath became the wind, the clouds, his voice, thunder, his sweat, rivers, tears, rain.
Oh, wow.
And even his fleas, depending on what you read, became the ancestors of humanity.
Okay, from giant cosmic fleas to humans. That is a family tree I don't think I'd want to trace back. Well, hold on. I thought you said there was another creation myth, too.
Yes. So alongside Pangu, we also have this really captivating goddess, Nuwa, and she's often depicted with the body of a serpent.
The serpent, okay.
And in this version, Nuwa molds humans from the yellow earth, breathing life into each one.
It's like having two origin stories for the universe.
Yeah.
Each one giving you a different perspective on things.
And it really speaks to how multifaceted Chinese mythology is.
Right.
It acknowledges that there's often more than one way to understand the world.
That's actually quite refreshing, to be encouraged to consider different possibilities, different ways of seeing things.
Exactly. And that actually leads us perfectly into probably one of the most fundamental concepts in Chinese thought, yin and yang.
The dance of duality.
Yes.
Okay, so yin and yang, I've seen the symbol, obviously, the black and white swirl, but to be honest, I'm not sure I could really tell you what it means.
Basically, think of it as how seemingly opposite forces are actually interconnected and rely on each other. Light and dark, male and female, action and stillness.
So it's about finding that balance between these opposing forces.
Precisely. And this idea of balance is woven into so much of Chinese culture. Yeah, from medicine and martial arts.
So it's not just some abstract concept, it's a principle that influences how people actually live their lives.
Absolutely. A good example is traditional Chinese medicine. Illness is often seen as an imbalance of yin and yang within the body. So restoring health is all about bringing those forces back into harmony.
Now we've got the universe created, we've got this idea of balance at play. Tell me, who are the big names in the Chinese pantheon? Who should we know about?
It's definitely not like that Western concept where you've got a single all-powerful god calling all the shots. In the Chinese pantheon, it's massive. It's this huge network of deities, and they've all got their own responsibilities, their own personalities.
It's like a divine organizational chart. Who's at the top? Who's the CEO of heaven?
Picture the Jade Emperor. He's up there in his celestial court, overlooking everything, making sure everything runs smoothly for both the gods and us mortals.
Gotta talk about the dragons. Those serpentine creatures of myth and legend, what's their whole deal?
Ah, yes. The dragon, probably the most iconic creature in all of Chinese mythology. And they symbolize power, good fortune, really auspicious energy.
Okay, so not just fire-breathing beasts guarding piles of gold like we see in the West?
No, they're very different from Western dragons.
Oh.
They're often seen as these benevolent forces of nature. They control the rain, rivers, seas. They even symbolize prosperity, good luck, imperial authority even.
That is quite a contrast.
Yeah.
But like everything else in Chinese mythology, there's probably yin and yang to dragons as well.
Oh, absolutely. You're right. Most dragons are seen as benevolent. You got that right. But there are some that are a little bit more, let's say, unpredictable.
Okay.
Particularly those that dwell in the depths of the ocean.
Ah, okay.
So they can be a little more fearsome.
So like the ocean itself, right?
Exactly.
Calm 1 minute and then things get a little rough.
Okay, so there's this one story about the god of the sea. Now, he's known for, let's say, his temper. And somebody decides to paint his portrait.
Uh-oh.
And he is not happy about it. He feels disrespected and throws a massive temper tantrum. Unleashes a huge storm as revenge. It really highlights a crucial concept in Chinese culture. This idea that even the gods are subject to a moral code.
Okay.
Actions have consequences. Nobody's above the law, not even the gods.
So even in the celestial realm, there's a sense of accountability. I'm really starting to see how these stories, they aren't just myths and legends. They reflect much deeper cultural values and beliefs.
Exactly. And speaking of reflecting cultural values, there's no better example than the one and only Monkey King, Sun Wukong.
Okay, now we're getting to the good stuff. I've got to admit, I'm a huge Monkey King fan. Those stories of him flying on clouds, battling demons, just generally causing mischief up in the heavens.
Yeah.
They're so entertaining.
They're so much fun. But his story, Journey to the West,
Yes.
it's like a cornerstone of Chinese literature. And it's a perfect example of how mythology can be entertaining, but it can also really make you think. But there's a much deeper message there about self-cultivation, about spiritual growth. Sun Wukong, he's born from a stone, and that symbolizes this raw, untamed potential. He's mischievous, rebellious.
Yeah, he does not like to follow the rules.
No, he doesn't. But he goes through all these trials, all these tribulations. He's battling demons, but he's also battling his own inner demons as well. And he goes through this amazing transformation. It's about harnessing your own potential, but also learning from your mistakes and trying to just be better, be a better version of yourself.
That's such a universal message. It doesn't matter what culture you come from. I think everyone can relate to that. And it's amazing to me how these ancient stories can still speak to us today. They offer us wisdom, insights into the human experience.
Absolutely.
Speaking of journeys and transformations, there's that other really powerful story in Chinese mythology, the Great Flood. What's the Chinese take on that classic myth?
It's interesting because unlike in some cultures where the flood is seen as divine punishment, the Chinese version is more about the consequences of when those emotions run wild.
Oh, okay.
And how resilient humanity can be.
Okay, so no divine wrath, no one's getting smited. So how did this flood happen?
You've got Gong, the god of water,
Okay.
and he's locked in this huge battle with Zhu Rong, the god of fire.
Whoa, okay. Water versus fire. That's a clash of the titans right there. Who won?
Zhu Rong, he ends up being victorious, but Gong, he is not a good loser.
Okay.
He is filled with rage, humiliation. So he decides to take it out on everyone, really. In a fit of fury, he slams his head into Mount Buzu, which just so happens to be one of the pillars holding up the sky.
He headbutted the sky. Okay, talk about a temper tantrum.
Right. And as you can imagine, the impact is catastrophic.
You bet.
The pillar shatters, the sky tilts, these cracks appear everywhere, and then boom, torrential downpours, floods all over the earth.
Oh, wow. So the world is flooded not because, someone up there was unhappy with us, but because one god had a really bad day. That's a new take on the flood myth. So how does humanity survive this whole celestial temper tantrum? Is there a Chinese Noah's Ark?
This is where the goddess Nuwa comes back in.
Okay.
Remember her, the creator of humankind. So she sees the devastation, and she decides she's going to do something to fix it.
Okay, so no ark this time, but a goddess with a toolbox.
It's actually pretty amazing. She gathers all of these 5-colored stones, she melts them down, and she uses that molten material to patch up those holes in the sky.
Whoa.
The rains finally stop, the floods recede, and balance is restored to the world.
Talk about divine intervention. But it wasn't just about her having the power to do it, was it? She made a choice to help, to show compassion.
Exactly. It really emphasizes the responsibility that the gods have, especially when they're the ones who caused the problem in the first place.
It's funny, in a way, how these ancient stories can still resonate so strongly today. We face our own challenges, our own floods. It's a good reminder that even when things feel overwhelming, there's always hope. We can always rebuild, renew.
I love that.
And that feels like a pretty good place to surface from our deep dive into Chinese mythology for today. I'm amazed, honestly, by how much these stories, these ancient stories, can still teach us about being human.
They really do. They're about finding that balance, about how interconnected we all are, and how we can all strive to become better versions of ourselves. They teach us that even gods make mistakes, heroes aren't perfect. It's not about the destination, it's about the journey.
It's full of wonder and wisdom and imagination.
It really is. And it reminds us that no matter where we come from, what stories we grew up with, there are these universal truths that connect us all.
So I guess what we're saying is keep exploring, keep asking those questions, keep diving deep into those different cultures, those different ways of seeing the world.